loud. All right, welcome everybody. Today is Wednesday, November 24th. For those of us in the United States, it's the day before US Thanksgiving. I know there's also Canadian Thanksgiving, but this is when ours happens. So happy Thanksgiving in advance if you observe. I'm going to open up my screen share, and we are going to continue with a little bit of experimentation this evening. We're going to try a slightly different format. I'm trying to fine tune. I think I've finalized the content we're going to use in the next class. I feel pretty good about the content. Now what I'm playing around with is different formats for the actual materials that we're using. What I'm trying to balance is something that is easy for you and easy for the teacher, right? And what I'm trying to do by doing that is take some of the burden and the pressure of the TPRS teaching method and embed it within the actual materials. Now, there is some complexity to the teaching method. So if I make the materials easier for the teacher, I want to make sure that they don't become harder or more confusing for the student. So today we're going to see what that looks like. We'll give it a shot. So first, and I'm going to try to do 2 breakouts in this session tonight. I'll see if we can make that happen. So first, let's just make sure we understand the story, right? Sabina's on a plane. She's flying to homeland. She speaks to a boy. She asks him, "Do you speak English?" He says no. She says, "My name is Sabina. What is your name?" He says, "My name is Osman. I'm going to my family." And he says, I am going to my friends. I changed this to going rather than staying because going is kwa, so kwa. I'm staying with is which is a little bit harder. So I simplified. Okay, so that's the story. In Circassian, the whole dialogue is Sabina washatim yis. Archakum mashata. Arsh alam yopsasha. Wayinjilibzachawapsafara. Hawa. Sasitsar Sabinash. Hatwawitsar or sitwitsar. Both are acceptable. Sitsar wasmansh. Sasiblagacham yadej sokwa. Sasinabjochem yadej hashapa sokwa. Sorry, this is sokwa. Okay, so that's the story. Nothing new there. We've covered this to death so far, right? We've covered this pretty much. Mir chajabs yitzar sabinash, sabina qashatim yis. Now, at this point in the class, I've removed the transliteration because I want you guys to stop. The transliteration is useful in the beginning. Oh my God, Dua's face. I just see terror in her eyes. Are you okay, Dua? Okay. So the transliteration is helpful in the beginning, but it will become a crutch. So at some point, we've got to take the training wheels off, and you guys are going to ride the bicycle, and you might fall down and skin your knees, but that's okay. I'm here with a Band-Aid. I can, put a little Band-Aid on the boo-boo. Not a big deal. So I'm removing the transliterations. You guys are free to take notes. All right. You guys are free to take notes in your home, but there's going to be no more transliterations. And also, if you remember in the last class, I had pictures for every word. It sounded like a good idea. I still think it could be a good idea, but what I find is that it crowds the screen. It crowds the slide. And so these slides are much cleaner, right? Part of what I'm trying to do here, as I said before, is not just create slides for me, but eventually, whether you're in Jordan or Syria or Turkey or Russia, I want these materials to scale. So I'm a little I have a love-hate relationship with using English in these slides, but this is where we are. So let's see how things go in this class. So remember, and trying to teach you guys how to read without the old boring way of let's go through every letter of the alphabet and memorize all these words you're not going to use, right? So giving you more exposure to the alphabet. Mir khajabs. This is a girl. Khajabzim yitzar Sabinash. Sabina qashatim yis. Right? And what I've provided here is the gloss. It's called a gloss translation. It's a literal translation so that you can get a sense of the structure of the language. Right? So we've covered all this stuff. We've done breakout rooms on this stuff. I've had conversations with all of you guys on this stuff. I'm very confident that you guys understand this material, that this material works for you, okay? So we're going to continue on. And how do we say that in Circassian? We're going to continue on. Okay? So this is a much simpler view. What I've done here, as I've said before, I'm trying to see you guys. I have an idea. You guys can still see the screen. It's not too small. Yeah. Okay, cool. So what I've done here is I've broken it up so that it's just one sentence per slide. Okay. Every sentence has a verb. So we're going to play with that verb. We're going to experiment with that verb. We're going to get very comfortable using that verb. All right. So that's what this stuff is here. And then this is my cheat sheet. So I've kind of graded out a little bit. You guys don't have to worry about this. You guys probably can't read this. That's okay. This is to make sure that I don't make any grammatical mistakes. It's to make sure that I remember the right sequence of the questions to ask to get you guys to all engage. Okay. Anything here? Come off mute for a minute. Is there anything here that's scary or confusing other than the fact that there's no transliteration? Is there anything here that's scary or confusing?
Nope.
Okay.
But there is transliteration. You wrote, I fly, you fly, he, she, it flies, and she, homeland, flies. How is
translation.
That not...
Transliteration would be giving you the pronunciation of these letters.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So, Dora, I still see I see a look on your face like you just stepped into dog poo barefoot.
No, I'm okay.
Okay.
I just have my notebook with me, so that way, whatever you say, I'm just going to write it down. So that way I just memorize it.
Okay. So, class.
Sit.
Go, come off mute, guys. Some of you guys are on mute. Come on. Class.
Sit.
Okay. Ar. Hakum. Maslata.
Oh.
Ar hakum maslata. She is flying to the homeland. Okay. So we use homeland. We don't say motherland. It is homeland. Shuk is how we say homeland. Shukum is to the homeland. All right. And remember, ar, who remembers what ar means?
It.
Okay. So masata, by process of elimination, means she's flying to it. Okay. All right. Everything clear here? Good. Okay. Class.
Sit.
Sabina hakum zdashatr. All right. So there's a little bit, I used a word here that this is part of the reason that I rebuilt the slides. So, whoops. This came up last time, so I'm going to explain it to you. Whoops, that's not what I wanted. There we go. Okay. Is the shata. So the question form that I'm asking right now is the shata? Is the shata? Sabina Khalkum is the shat, actually is the shatter. Is she flying to the homeland? Is the shatter. Is the signifies that she's going to a specific place. Okay. So this came up a couple times. This came up in the last conversation. I want everybody to understand this concept. So the verb here is sheten, right? So let's make sure everybody understands this. So the verb here, the infinitive form is sheten. It means to fly. That's the infinitive form. Sheten, sheten. Now, if I say I am flying, I say sa so shata, sa so shata. Okay, so I put that prefix that says I am doing it. So, that's what this is. So shata. Whoops. Shata, shata, shata. I fly. I fly. Now, if I say you as a singular person, you fly, right? It's that same root, shata, but how do I say, Ahmed Varokwa, how do I say you fly?
Wo shata.
Wo shata, right? So up here, it's sa so shata, and down here, it's wo shata. You fly. And then if I say he, she, or it flies, who wants to try to read this? Ar mashata. Now, this means that somebody's flying. We have not specified where they're flying. Or we're just saying she's flying, right? We've specified with the word where she's flying. She's flying to the homeland. Okay. Now, if I'm asking, is she flying? Like, oh my God, there's a witch flying in Harry Potter, right? Is she flying? I'm not asking where she's flying. Is she flying? Right? But here in this story, I'm asking if Sabina is flying to a specific place. And so the question becomes, Sabina hukum is the shatter. Is the shatter. Okay. Is this concept clear to everybody?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it kind of implied with how you say that there's like it in front of it though? Because it sounds like you're saying is instead of just zda.
No, this is a very important point. Circassian is a phonetic language. Okay, so what we say is what we speak. There is no I. It is exactly z. But hukum is the shatter. Is the shatter. It's no I. There's no I. If I did say that, right, then I would say is the shatter. This is how I would say is the shatter. But I'm not saying that. Is the shatter. Is the shatter. Okay. So is there anybody who has a question about this concept of this prefix of izd?
I do, just to make a comparison. So I don't know if it's I don't have enough data to know if it's exactly the same thing, but it sounds like something in Russian too. Like, I don't know if there are any Russian speakers in the class, but there's something too, like if I say litat in Russian means to fly, not anywhere specific, just flying. But if I say litit, like for example, yalichu is like I fly to somewhere specific, but yalitayu is just I'm flying randomly.
It's different than я тоже говорю по-русски немного.
Okay, good. Okay.
It's different than verb aspect. It's different.
It's not the same thing. Okay.
No.
Okay.
Okay. This will come up.
Even then, sorry. So even then, that's not about aspect, because if I were to use aspect, I would have said like for example, is it
George?
Yeah, sorry.
Text me offline because I'm the only other Russian speaker and I want to just focus.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
It's a great question, but nobody else
is
participating in the conversation. So
okay.
But you can definitely text me offline.
Okay.
So this concept will come up in this dialogue. It'll come up in other verbs that we're going to learn. Okay. So class.
Sit.
Sabina, hukum is the shatter. Enta. Sabina, hukum mashata. Sabina, hukum mashata. Ar, hukum mashata. Sabina, hukum mashata. Class.
Sit.
Sabina, Disneyland is the shatter.
Hawa.
Hawa. Sabina, Disneyland ثاترقم. Sabina مفوق حكم ثاترة. مفوق
Hawa.
Hawa. مفوق ثتفرة. Who knows what I said?
Train.
Is a train
Flying.
Flying.
able to fly?
Oh.
ثتفرة. Okay. So ثتفرة. We're going to get into this in this part of the story. Okay. Whoops. ثتفرة. Okay. So when we see this, it means, is it able to do it? Okay, so those of us who have heard Circassian in our homes, in our lives, are you able to speak Circassian? Okay, so in the last class, we covered mafog. Who remembers mafog?
That's the train.
Train.
All right. In the Saturday class, we got into this, but I don't know we got into it in this class. Who knows what the word for fire is?
Mafa.
Mafa. And the word gu has two meanings. One is heart. What's the other meaning? Does anybody know the other meaning?
Oh.
The other meaning is cart, like a horse cart or an ox cart. So we've all seen these pictures, I'm sure, of the Wild West. You know, there's a horse, he's got like two long sticks, or a cow or an ox with two long sticks tied to the back. And then there's people sitting, right?
Yep.
Or think of a stagecoach, right? That's a big cart, C-A-R-T, cart. So gu is a cart. So mafog is a fire cart, right?
Cool.
Because in the when trains were invented, they ran on coal. Remember, we burned the coal, and that's how they would have the it's called a locomotion engine because there is movement in the engine, right? So mafog is train, and it comes from the two words mafa, which means fire, gu, which means cart, mafog. Okay, so class,
Sit.
Sit.
Sabina mafogcha hukum thatra.
Hawa.
Hawa. Mafagur tafrqum. It cannot fly the mafog, right? Okay. So in this question here, let me put this out for you. Whoops. Sabina. Okay. Whoops. That's the wrong B. Okay. Sabina mafogumcha hukum shatra. All right. So we know who Sabina is. We know mafog is the train. Okay. Mafogum is the train. Who wants to guess, or who knows what this little ch at the end of mafog means?
Fine.
No.
With?
Is it with?
With. By means of. Okay.
That's
So
what I said, by train.
oh, sorry, I didn't understand you. Sorry, Albert.
That's
So when we add cha to the end of something, it means that that's how you're doing it, or by means of, by way of. So many of you have heard my classic example. Adigabza cha wopsa thafra. Can you speak by way of the Circassian language, in the Circassian language, in or with the Circassian language? This cha means you're doing it with, okay? So the question I'm asking here is, Sabina mafogum cha hukum thatra. Is Sabina flying to the homeland by means of a train? And obviously the answer is no. Why? Why? Because mafogur tafrqum. ستفقم. It's not able to fly. So مفوق right? So here, all right. So as we covered up here, this if, it's not able to. Well, if is able to, right? Are you able to? Is it able to? And now we're saying, no, it's not able to. So remember how we negate something? Right? So mafog latafqum. It's not able to fly. Concept is clear? Okay. This is a super common, super helpful concept that all of you can use, will use, this if in this qim, okay? Later on in this dialogue, we're going to learn, are you able to speak in the Circassian language? And a lot of you guys, sometimes I hear you say hawa or tzuk, right? And tzuk is not actually the right word. So we're going to learn how to say something like, yes, I can, no, I cannot, a little. We'll also learn things like, can you slow down? I don't understand. Can you say it again? We're going to learn lots of useful phrases like that. Okay. That's a departure from the original TPRS materials that I received. But I know my goal is to give you guys, as we're structuring the new course that we're going to teach in January, my goal is to give you guys in a 12 or 15-week period enough content that you can leave that course and you can have a conversation with the vocabulary necessary to tell somebody, that's too much. Can you slow down? Can you say it again? I didn't understand. Right? George, you have a question?
Yeah, sorry again for the question, but so here for okay, so first of all, so train is mafug, right? The pronunciation? Mafug. Okay, mafug. So but then so when you say mafug shatafqam, is this only for questions or also for when you're saying the train doesn't fly? Like which one is it?
So if I'm asking if it's able to fly, the question form is shatafra.
Oh yeah, no, I meant the negative question, like, oh, can't the train fly? Like a negative question.
That's super complex grammar.
Oh, okay. So this is only for a normal negative, like
Yeah.
if the train can't fly.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
There are some. Yeah, I'm not going to get into it right now. It's too much complexity. There are ways to say that, but I'm not going to get into it right now. You can text me if you're interested. I don't want to confuse people. Omar, yes.
Yeah, so I have a question about the cha again. So that's before, like you said, you can say like for a car by car would be machine cha.
Machinum cha.
Machine cha. And then you can use it for a language. You could cha, you said. So it's not just like for like vehicles, right? Or like cars or airplanes.
Or you could say, for example, did you write it by hand or did you type it? You could say by way of hand, right? You could say, did you come by way of a road? Rog is road, right? Did you come by way of the road? So this cha, you can use it for verbs. You can use it for nouns. It always means the same thing. And we don't have it do we have? No, this is in grammar, this is called the instrumental case. Right. So I don't know if that exists in Arabic or other languages that some of the other people speak, but basically this is how you say by means of or with.
And then when you said by hand, I think the cha was or I misheard you, the cha was in the beginning of the word,
No.
or is it at the end?
No. So like, for example, did you do this by hand? Did you make it by hand? Mir acha sa. Did you make it by hand? Did you write it by hand as opposed to typing, right? Mir acha ptka. Did you write it by hand? So we can add cha to any noun or any verb, and it means that's the way by which you did it.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yep. Ola, you have a question?
Yes, do you mind reading the two questions you wrote on the slide slowly again?
Up here? These
The two at the
questions?
bottom. So the one at the, yeah, that one.
Yeah,
the next
yeah,
one.
of course.
Thank you.
Sabina, mafog, mafogumcha, oh, there's a spelling mistake. Chokum, chatra. Chatra. And then here, mafog, ta, tafqum.
Whoopso.
So is. Okay. So Sabina, Disneyland is the theater.
Hawa.
Hawa. Disneyland theater. Sabina mafogumcha chokum theater.
Mafago Shata.
Mafogur satafhum.
Tatafkam.
Right? The train cannot fly. It's not capable of flying. Omar, you still have a question?
Sorry, I never noticed I didn't put it down.
Okay, cool. Class,
Sit.
Sabina Autobus theater.
Hawa.
Autobus tafhum. Autobus, bus. Okay. Class,
It.
Sabina Stambul Hamachokum is the theater.
Sabina
Sabina Chokum theater. What's Stambul?
Istanbul.
Istanbul. We say Istanbul. Okay. Class,
Sit.
Sabina Chokum Hama Jordan is the theater.
Sabina
Hakum Mashata.
Sabina Chokum theater. What's Jordan?
Jordan.
Jordan. Michael Jordan. Class,
Sit.
then Sabina is the theater.
Mafak.
Hakum Mashata.
Welcome, Mafata.
Okay. So Dena means, what does Ola? What does Dena mean?
Where?
Where? So just Ola. Dena Sabina is the theater.
Where is she flying?
So tell me.
Ar hakum lethater.
Ar Hakuma theater. So I think I heard you say I heard you say something like with the cha in it. So I wanted to make sure this concept was clear to you.
Okay.
Okay. So everyone together. Sor is also everyone together. Then Sabina is the theater.
Sabina Hukum.
Sabina Hakum Mashata.
Sabina Hakuma theater. Okay. So there's a word. I'm going to introduce some new vocabulary with some of these questions. All right. Some of this we've covered before. So, which question am I on? Yep. Okay. Let me think. What's the best one? No. Well, no, you know what? I'm going to make this easier for you guys. Okay. So I'm going to ask you this question. Is anybody, okay, just making sure nobody's asking me questions in the chat. So the question I'm about to ask you is Chakur Ziza. Chakur Ziza. Who can get, well, I wrote up here, Ziza. Ziza means far, right? Ziza means far. And then the word for close is close. Whoops. Okay. So Chakur zizha. Hama wanao. Okay, zizha. What does zizha mean?
Far.
Far.
Okay, now there's two sounds here. Few of you are going to be able to hear this. Zh is the first syllable of this word. The second syllable, this is one letter. It's two characters, but it's one letter. Okay, so this first letter here is zh. The second letter here is a richer form of that. It's z. So this first one is zh. The second one is z. It's a richer, deeper version of it. Okay, that little character that looks like a B, that softens letters. So the z, when we soften it, it becomes richer. Z. Okay, so the word here is zizza. Is it far? Far. Zizza is far. This word below it, okay, this looks scary. I promise you it's not. These sounds are very common. All of these sounds are very common. Okay, so the word for close is, this is one letter. Okay, it's 3 characters long. It's one letter. It's wa. Okay, that's the letter wa. So we see it 2 times. We see it here and we see it here, right? We see it 2 times. So this word is 3 letters long. Okay, so the first wa, but then it has this letter, which is like an N, just like an American N, no difference. Okay, so when we put these together, run. And then this letter here is ah. It's not quite an E. It's not quite an A. Okay. So the way we say close, when we put these together, there's a diphthong here. No. Okay. Who knows the word for family members in a household? Wanao. Also, neighbor is wano, right? So it means close, somebody who's close to you. Okay. So class, shakur ziza hama wano. We're all in North America. So chakur zizas. Okay. Class. Dawa. This is a word we haven't used in a while. Dawa. Ab, her. Right. Ar is she. Ab is her. It's just how we say it. Dawa ab zerelatr. Dawa ab zerelatr. Who wants to guess what I asked? Who wants to guess?
How is she flying?
How is she flying? Yes, how is she flying? Dawa ab zerelatr. Okay. Whenever we ask, there's no such thing as always. Much of the time, when we ask in verbs how something is being done, we add this prefix zere. It means how is something done. So we are duplicating, because we say dawa, which means how, and then we say zere, which means how again. Dawa ab zerelatr. How is she flying? How is she flying? Okay. Now this zere, this is super common, super helpful. All right. You'll hear this lots of times. So who knows the infinitive form of the word to say something?
Wait, repeat that again.
Who knows the infinitive verb form of to say.
and
Je'en, to say. Sejzo'a, wajbo'a, arji'a, to say. Okay. So let's say you don't know how to say something. Okay. If I say I am saying something, I'm going to say it. But if I want to know how I say something, ardawa zerjus enur. How do I say that? Okay. How do I spell your name? Witzer dawa zersthinur. How do I spell your name? I know I'm throwing lots of concepts at you. Don't worry if you don't remember the verbs. I'm just giving you examples so you remember the prefix. Okay. The analogy I'm going to keep using in this class, it's kind of like meeting people at a party. You go into a room, there's 10 people, and you introduce yourself. You get introduced by one friend you know to Tom, Dick, Harry, Joe, Susan, Samantha, blah, 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 blah. And at the end, you don't remember any of their names, but you start talking to one of them and you remember that person's name. And by the end of the night, they're all your friends. That's exactly how it is here. Okay, so zerechatr, how does she fly? Okay, so if I say dawa ab zerechatr, I'm asking how does she fly? Okay, now one person, just tell me, just with one word, what do you think is part of the right answer here? Actually, one word could be the right answer here. Ola, you have what? So what's the answer? I'm asking dawa abizarashatr.
Want it in Circassian or English?
I want it in Circassian. I've given you all the information to answer.
Koshata.
Washatum tsa.
Koshatimcha, yeah.
Washatum tsa. Right? By means of the plane, with the plane. Washatum tsa. That's a perfectly grammatically correct answer. Abe washatum tsa mashata. She's flying with the airplane, or you can just say washatum tsa. She's flying. It's just it has all the information in it. It's a full sentence in Circassian. Washatum tsa. It's understood. It's like in English, really? That's a full sentence. It's a grammatically correct full sentence. Okay, so who knows, who remembers the word to walk? One.
Yeah.
One. Okay, so Sabina Quara, Hamashatara.
Sabina
Sabina
Mashata.
Mashata.
Sabina Mashata, Pej. Sabina Mashata. Okay. The word to run. Well, I'm not going to get into that. All right. So let's go through these questions again to make sure everybody. Now, I want everybody to understand the content. Now we're going to play with the content. All right. So we're going to go through these questions again. All right. Class.
this,
Class.
Sit.
Sit, Janti. Come on, beat us up. Throw more rocks at us. Come on. All right. Arhelpumashata.
Oh.
Sabina helpum is the theater.
the,
Sabina helpum mashata. Sabina Disneyland is the theater. Sabina Disneyland theaterkum. Sabina mafogumcha helpum theater.
oh,
Awa sichacha. Sichacha. Mafog thatafkum. Aha. Mafog thatafkum. Okay. Sabina autobuscha helpum theater.
oh,
Awa sichacha.
Autobus.
Autobus thatafkum. Thatafkum. Ola.
Sit.
What's the tefra? What's the tefra?
What flies?
Do you
Oh,
fly?
How?
What
How
was the
it
tefra?
said the tetracum.
What was the tefra? Sasa tefkum. Sasa tefkum. Uh-huh.
The tetracum.
Omar,
Sit.
what's the tefra?
So are you asking, do you fly right now or like in general?
Do you have the ability to fly?
You just do how?
Hawa. Today they fin, so Egypt still Hawa. Tomorrow maybe, but right now. Okay.
That Nova? No, Nova, right?
Wish.
Yeah, Noba. So how do you say I don't fly?
Sasukhata qum.
Okay, so it's a different form, but you got most of it right. Sa si khatafkum.
Sasukhata. Okay.
Okay. I just want to make sure people got the concept. Okay. Class. Sabina Stambul. Hamakhakum is the shatter.
حكم مشاطر.
Hakum matlata. Shakur zuzza. Hamapaugnau. Winau.
Ronauch.
Jesus. Ola, are you in a different
What is this?
location we don't know about?
Yeah, for now.
She's in Grozny.
In Grozny.
Jesus.
Okay.
For Jesus.
Shakur zuzas. Okay, good. Sabina Quora Hamathatra.
Sabina.
Sabina Machata.
Sabina Mathata. Sabina Mathata. Who knows if what I say? Sabina Quora Hamathatra. What does Quora mean?
Walks.
Walking. Is she walking or is she flying? Correct.
Be cool to walk.
Be cool to walk. It's probably, it would take 6 months and 3 bulletproof vests and
We goody hara.
we agree. Yeah. Do you like walking? All right. So we're feeling okay with these concepts. We're feeling okay with what we got here. Okay. All right.
You say half.
So
Like,
what I'm experimenting with here, when we constructed this course, we tried to simplify as much as possible. But what we found was that we couldn't say certain things. We didn't want to give you false grammar. We didn't want to show you the wrong way to say something, but we didn't want to introduce the complexity. What I'm experimenting with right now is if I give you complexity, but I break it down, is it truly complex or can you grab the concept? So that's why we're still playing, and these are brand new verbs. Remember, a lot of what we've covered, this is new stuff. So it's okay if it's a little uncomfortable, it will settle in, okay? So we're gonna go on to the next line. This is a verb that we've seen this before, right? So I'll read it to you and then we'll act it out. Ar, salam. Okay, so this is one letter. Okay, this by itself is s. When we add, this is called, in Circassian, we call this the bash, the stick. We literally call it the stick. По-русски polochka. In Russian, polochka means stick as well. So when we add this letter to a consonant, it makes it shorter and more powerful. Okay, so as a result, this is sh, but together it's s, s, s. So sa, salam, salam, ar, salam. These two letters have to go together. Yo. This is something I can tell you. Anytime you see these two letters, it's always yo. These letters always come together. Yo, psasha. Yo, psasha. Okay. So does anyone, other than Albert, does anyone know what, because he's in the Saturday class and he's also, he speaks a lot of the language. Does anybody know what this verbal prefix yo means? Hola.
No, I did that by mistake. I don't know.
True.
Almost, Ahmed Baroqa.
To him.
They're doing it together. Yop Sasha. They're doing it. She's doing it to him. But a better translation would be it's bi-directional.
Gotcha.
The idea is that they are speaking together, because there are ways to say she's shouting and he's just listening, like a one-sided conversation. That's not what this is. Yo means they are doing it together. Okay. Okay. So for those of us, again, who've grown up with this language, yo psa, psasha, sa, so psasha. We have this down here. Sa so psasha, sa so psasha, so psasha. I speak. I am speaking. I speak. Okay. And then if you are doing it, wo psasha, wo psasha. This is the same exact structure as thata. Same exact. Sa so thata. I speak. I'm sorry. Sa so thata, I fly. Sa so psasha, I speak. Wo psasha, you speak. And then down here, ar ma psasha, he speaks. He speaks. Ar ma psasha. Okay. Now, but if I say, now here's the thing. If I say Sabina is speaking, Sabina is ar, it's she, he, she, it. Okay. If I say she is speaking, I'm going to say this. I'm going to say ar ma psasha. She's speaking. Ar ma psasha. But she's not just speaking. She's not in a room by herself speaking, right? She's not in a room by herself speaking. She is speaking to someone. The person she is speaking to is a boy. It's the boy, right? And so we use this prefix yopsasha. Ar shalem yopsasha. Okay. Concept is clear. Yamiz.
Hi. So if I want to say Janti's speaking with Nur, would I say Janti Nur Yopsasha?
Yes.
Okay.
But here, now here's the thing. If you want to say they are speaking, you could also say Acher Zopsasha.
Acher Zopsasha.
They are speaking to one another. Zopsasha. Does anybody know, other than Albert and Ahmed, does anybody know how to say, well, Berzej also. I think you three know how to say this. Does anybody know how to say, we are speaking? We are speaking.
Tell him, Nuri.
Dipsasha.
Say it, Nuri.
Dipsasha.
Dizopsasha.
Dizopsasha. Oh, that's fine.
Dizopsasha. Okay, so. Whoops. So let's go here. The dizopsasha. We are speaking. We are speaking. Acher zopsasha. They are speaking. We are speaking.
So what's mocher mean then? Like,
so
the mocher het, like who are they? You know.
So acher, okay, it's a pronoun. Okay, acher means them. Mocher means those people over there that are not super far.
Okay.
Okay, so you asked the question, so I'll answer it. I'm halfway into the question.
Sure.
Ar is he, she, or it. Acher is them. They are them. Okay. By the way, the reason we use this, just a side note, you cannot map it to the way English works. I give him the book, right? It doesn't work like that in Circassian. Circassian is an ergative language. Whether you use him or he, or he, she, it, or him, her, them, right? It depends on the verb. If the verb is transitive, you're going to use them. If the verb is intransitive, so you don't need to know the rule. I'm just explaining. If you're confused, why is it sometimes her as opposed to she? It's because it's a different grammatical system. That's all you need to know. All right. So ar is he, she, or it. Acher is them, they or them. It can mean both depending on how the sentence is structured. Okay. There's also this concept of mocher. Mocher is those people over there, I can see them. they're not abstract people far away. Okay, so for example, Arabs, they live in Arab countries, in the Arab world, right? I'm referring to this group of people, right? But if I'm talking about some people, you're walking down the street, it doesn't matter who they are, I can see them, right? Or maybe I can't see them, and you're talking about your colleagues at work. You know, you're saying, oh, I was with these people the other day. Who are those people? It's a little bit more, it's less abstract. Okay. There's also a third form of this that is not commonly used, but you will see it if you read Circassian literature. Achim. Achim is a super far, super distant, super abstract concept. In Circassian, there's lots of concepts of close, mid-ranged, far. Right? So this is one of those elements. So if you've ever heard mochur and acher, very similar. It's just that acher is like those people over there, abstract concept. Mochur, maybe they're not as far, or maybe it's not as abstract of a concept.
So.
Are you sorry you asked, or is that how
No, it is helpful because I saw it in Optilingo and I know people would correct me on that actually, so.
Okay. We good with this concept on this page? All right. So psasha, we've done lots of, so we're going to go through these questions now. Okay. So let's wake back up though. Everybody come off mute. All right. I feel lots of intimidation, low energy. That's not what this class is about. High energy, positive thinking, right? If you think it, you can achieve it. All right. Class.
Sit.
Arsh alam yopsasha. Ooh. Class. Sabina psashara.
ايوه انت
Sabina mapsasha. Sabina mapsasha. Class. Shalar psashara. Shalar mapsasha. Remember, they're talking. Yeah, they're talking to each other. So even though it's not in the story, because I said Yop Sasha, if she's speaking to him, he has to be speaking back to her, right? So Shalam Absasha, Shalam Absasha. Yes, George.
Can I say Shalari Mabsasha? Like
Yes.
the boy too.
The boy is also speaking. Shalari Absasha.
With two R's, right?
No, it would be one R.
Oh, okay. So the other R is dropped, right? Like
well,
Shaler,
it's not dropped. It has to do with the ergative case in grammar in Circassian grammar. There's only one R.
Oh, right. Okay. No, I know what it is. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
It's like saying the. Like imagine the. Well, you get it.
No. I know what the ergative case is. It's okay. Yeah.
Okay.
I know it's okay. Yeah.
So, class.
Sit.
And introduce a new verb. Sit Sabini Yisr. Sit Sabini Yisr.
Armapsasha.
Armapsasha. Did this. Who knows what I asked besides George?
What is Sabina doing?
What is she doing? Sit Sabini Yisr. What is Sabina doing? Yisr. Yisr.
shush.
Yes.
Sit, Albert.
Oh no, I said she's sitting.
Shush. You could say that. You could say that. You could say that. That would be an acceptable answer. Okay. Class.
Sit.
Sabina Shala.
How?
Sabina Khajabs. Sabina Shala Hama Khajabs. Okay. Now we're going to make you more confused. Right? Chet Sabina Zapsasher.
Sabina Shalom.
Arshalem Yopsasha.
Arshalem Yopsasha. Right. So if I'm asking the question, right? Chet Zapsasher. Who is she speaking to? To whom is she speaking? Zapsasher. So let me put that here. Zapsasher. Whoops. Zepsatler. To whom is she speaking? Oops. Okay. Zepsatler. Who is she speaking to? Sabina Zahichera. Sabina.
Sabina.
Hawa ar mapsasha.
Sabina Sakih.
Sabina Zahich. Too much? Different verb?
Zahich is like she's listening to someone.
She can hear.
She can hear.
Yeah, she can hear. All right.
She can hear. Okay.
She can hear.
Not she hears, but not she hears
No,
or is
she
listening.
hears.
She can.
She hears. Yeah.
Okay.
She
Okay.
hears.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. What I'm realizing here is no extra verbs. So we'll cut out the rest of the questions. And the last question. Sabina Psatra. Sabina Mapsatra. Sabina Mapsatra. Okay. So I want to go into, well, first of all, let's take a pulse check. This is a little bit of a different class because we're going a little bit deeper into structure. Okay. Give me some feedback. Is this helpful? Is it hurtful? Do you not like it? Do you like it? Is it too much? What are you guys feeling right now?
Helpful, like it, just enough.
Okay.
I think it's just enough. Like for me, it's the right level.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, sigurihra.
Okay. Who feels lost? It's sometimes if the first one or two people have a positive view, other people are a little embarrassed or shy about sharing. Who feels lost and confused? Okay, Aslan, lost and confused. Who feels lost, confused, demotivated, unsure, uncomfortable? Any of the above?
I don't feel lost, but I just feel like it'll take time to adjust without the transliterations for me.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. So I think okay, that's interesting feedback. So there's more content and there's more explanation and there's less clarity around the things that you're hearing because I've taken the transliteration away. Okay, that's helpful to know. Let me ask you another question. If we go back to a previous version of this. So in a previous version, okay, so this is a previous version. We actually covered this in the last class. This is the same content, all right? What I've done here is I give you the transliteration, right? But then there's no English. There's no English, there's pictures. What we're doing here is I take away the pictures, these little miniature pictures, because I think they're a little crowded. And I've replaced all of this with just one image. And I've given you a gloss transliteration. But I have not given you the pronunciation. Okay. If I were to revamp these again, what would you guys think about this gloss translation? This is called a gloss translation. It's a literal translation. A gloss translation plus a transliteration. And then instead of all these little pictograms, just one picture. Is that kind of the winning formula here?
What you have showing right there, I like.
No, I think, well, I could speak for myself. I don't know about Dua. We have like I think a very similar level of literacy and Adirabza. I think we're fine without the transliterations. The translations are fine. It's just when you introduce some of the new verbiage, when you go over these slides, it's fine. Then when you go over the new verbiage, I just need like a few more repetitions of you like going over them and I catch up.
Okay.
So I'm just a little bit slower than maybe others, but it's fine. I need to get used to it. And I think the pace, everything is fine.
Okay. Okay. George, you have a comment to make?
Yeah, I have two things. First of all, I think it would be really, really cool if you could make us ask you questions or even maybe some other people questions because as many people have noticed, the question forms are different. So we need to practice those as well. because we're going to ask questions as well when we speak Circassian in real life. It would be good if we could ask them, like maybe to you, for example, like we could ask you, are you flying, are you walking, or whatever we want, are you talking, for example. And the other thing is that I like the gloss translations that you put. I think maybe if you want to take it one step further with the glossing, maybe you could also translate every single what we call a morpheme, but it's actually a small part of the word and not just the whole word. Like, for example, in hukum, the M at the end means like in a place, right? So like you could also translate this M, what this M means, instead of just hukum as a whole, because then we would know what every single little part means. And actually, when we write linguistics papers, that's what we do. We have like one whole line dedicated to translating, to glossing every single little morpheme. And then maybe for like the ma, you could say it's for third person or something, or things like that. I think it would make it clear for people what this ma, where does this ma come from, and where does this M come from, for example.
That's I did these real fast tonight, but that's exactly what the goal is. If any of you use the Optolingo program, all the gloss transliterations that are there in the app, that's exactly what they do. That's exactly what they do.
Okay, that's great.
Did Ola have a question? Did she disappear?
No, I was just gonna say, I feel like the last part George was talking about might confuse others, like if we get into depth and details about what every single part would mean. But that could just be me, I'm not sure.
No, what he's talking about, so what he's talking about is this, watch.
Yeah,
See
exactly.
what I just did there?
Yeah, exactly.
See what I just did there? So by adding the little hyphen the, it's showing you that Hukum means the homeland, not just homeland.
And yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not, it sounds complex to explain, but it's not complex at all. It's what a true gloss translation is.
Yeah.
Okay. And then here, it's not the boy, it's actually boy, because the comes at the end.
Oh, so is it the, or is it like in a place or?
So a suffix of M or a suffix of R at the end of a noun specifies that is a definite noun. And then whether it's an M or an R depends on what grammatical case you're placing it into.
Right. Okay. Because we also learned like kalem means in the city.
Yeah.
So there's another M suffix which means in, right?
It doesn't mean, it never means in.
Oh, really? Okay.
But you use it in that grammatical case.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I get it. Okay.
But I know what you're saying, and I think what you're saying is right. I think what you're saying about questions is right. So we'll do that here. But one more thing to ask you guys. In this what we did last week was, and I don't know if this is better or worse. Okay, so in this class, what I did was, I didn't want you guys to think there was a constant movement of slides. I just feel like constant change on the slide. And this is something I'm trying to balance. I'm really thinking about this from a graphic design perspective, and I'm not a graphic designer. So one option is you have one slide, all the notes about what we've covered are covered. I threw them onto the slide, right? I can just do one slide. And then all the questions that I need to ask you for my notes are here. Now, I could create a teacher guide. But then even now I found I was wasting valuable class time spelling things here, making them bigger for you that were actually already here that are just too small, too hard for you to read. Okay. So the other option is forget the pictures, right? Forget the pictures. But the other option is every 2 sets of question and answer is a different slide. So what we did in the last class was I said, hey, she's flying to the homeland. She speaks to the boy. She is speaking to the boy. And then I kind of gray it out a little bit so it's less emphasized, but you can still see that content. And then the first question, Sabina Hukum is the Thatr. It's nice and big. You can see it. You can see, I could do the gloss translations for you. You can see that too. And then the answer in Sabina Hukum Ashata. But then the next question, Sabine Disneyland is the theater. How Sabine Disneyland theater come, right? So all the questions are big and bold. So the upshot is you get to see everything. The downshot is it could feel like there's lots of movement. It could be claustrophobic because you feel like there's lots of movement. So between this approach, where every sequence of questions is nice and big and bold and has its own slide, versus this approach, where we stay on one slide and I'm just reading it to you guys and then typing stuff as you guys ask questions. Do you have a preference for, who has a preference for all the questions spelled out big? Nobody.
No.
Who has a preference for one slide with my little cheat notes on it? One person. It's like
I
the
think-
US election. One person comes out and turns the vote.
I think the other one would probably be easier, just because they can match the vocabulary with the pictures. Because if you have it the other way, with everything on the side, I can see you asking the questions and I see the answer, but I might not remember what the vocabulary is or what each word means.
Right. So what I would do here, right? Let me make it much more tangible, right? What I would do here is I'd say, what I would do is this. So in every question, I wouldn't do the pictures anymore because I do think they're crowding, right? But I would do this instead.
Mhm.
Right, I would do this. So every question would be big and bold on the screen like this. So you'd have time to digest it, and I could read it. Sabina mafokumcha shokum satara as the question, and the answer would be how mafogur satafkum, right? And I would probably even color code some of this stuff so you could see, you know. And here, this is what George was talking about before. This is a true gloss translation, right? It gives you more information about the word that you're reading. Okay, so I'm thinking this is a better option. It's a little bit more work for me, but that's okay. What I would do is this instead of this, where, you know, we're wasting time with me spelling these things out in class to give you guys more of the answers, more of the insight into the structure of the language. Is anybody not liking this version of the slide?
So why are you saying it's more work for you?
Because there are 12 questions here, right?
Yeah.
So this is one slide with 12 questions. This is 12 slides.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to build 12 slides.
Oh, okay. You were talking about the first option.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Okay.
I'm not worried about the work. I'm not worried about the work. But what
Okay.
ends up what'll end up happening is this story that we've gone through. It's 6 lines long. It's 6 lines long, and this version of the story then takes about 120 slides to get through. This version of the story takes about 12 slides to get through on average. So, but I think this is the better way to go because then everything's big and bold and beautiful and you guys can see it.
And oh yeah, and also people know like which parts are together and instead of them being jumbled up. Okay, I can see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what would happen here is this is this question, right? And then I'd go to the next question and there wouldn't be pictures anymore, right? There's no more pictures. I get rid of all the pictures, right? But then in this question, just like up here, Sabina trained by way of homeland the flying is, right? So here what I would do is just this, watch. right? That's it.
Mhm.
And then here, so you'd see this. Oops. Right. So that you'd get more, you get more meaningful information out of the slide little by little, as opposed to a whole bunch of stuff thrown at you guys at once. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. But George has a really good point, and we're going to do this now in the breakout rooms. We still have time. Bear with me. We still have time. So I got to tell you, Google Slides is just crap. PowerPoint's so much better. I'm not a Microsoft guy. I
agree.
But it's just painful to work with. So okay. And that's this one here. And let me just do this real quick for you. So what I'm going to do is actually work the question forms here as well, so you guys can ask the question forms. Yeah. Hey, when I started, no one taught me any of this stuff. I figured it all out on my own. So as I'm doing this, I'm like, oh my God, some of you guys are like, how one little letter changes here, it doesn't change there. Believe me, it'll all make sense.
Tasab Satra means, do I speak?
Am I speaking?
Am I speaking?
I had someone ask me one time, they said, Waba Adiga. Yeah.
Do you speak Adiga?
Okay. So you guys keep circling around the complexity that I'm trying not to throw at you. Wa'adiraba? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah.
Wa'adiraba.
Yeah.
That's Western Circassian. And what they're asking you is, aren't you Circassian?
Okay.
So in Eastern Circassian, which is what we're studying here, it's qa. Wa'adiraka, but we wouldn't say it. We just don't say that. It's kind of like British English versus American English. Like we wouldn't say fish and chips. We just wouldn't say it. It's just not something that we would say. But there are many things. Are you speaking properly? Like we would add qa at the end of something. So Yamiz asked before, like, how would you say, like, aren't you doing it? Or I forget the exact, and I said, I don't want to go there. It's a verbal suffix that you add, and it means like, aren't you doing it? Okay. All right. So I apologize that this slide is as ugly as it is, but I think George has a good point about asking questions. He's right. And Circassian verbs, they change dramatically in some cases when you ask questions as opposed to when you make statements. So I need to give you all this information. Oops. All right. Okay. So I'm going to read this stuff to you to make sure you guys all get it. All right. So we've covered this before. I fly. Sollata. Sa sollata. I fly. And again, Circassian is very redundant. So sa means I or me. So means I'm doing it. Llata. So it's like saying I fly, right? Or I me fly. Wa wo llata. Wa wo llata. Ar ma llata. Ar ma llata. Whoops, why is this? I hate this. All right. Ar ma llata. He is flying. Now, if I want to say, right now, where am I flying? Sa dana sa llatra. Sa dana sa llatra. Where am I flying? Dana sa llatra. Sa dana sa llatra. Where am I flying? Wa dana wusatra. Ar dena satra. So you can see here, these prefixes change, right? So here, this so thata becomes si thata. This wo thata, it would be silly if we said with thata. It just doesn't sound right. So we just drop the letter with thata. And then this m thata, we drop the m and it's just thatra. And we add the r at the end of it because you're doing it now. Then with thatra, where are you flying? Okay, so that's how we say this. Here, all right, we covered I am speaking. It's the same exact structure, by the way. These two verbs are they follow the same structure. Okay, there's different types of structures of verbs. Sasoshata, wa wo shata. I'm sorry, psata. Sasopsata, wa wopsata, ar mupsata. Okay, and then if I'm asking the question, sasapsatra, am I speaking? Am I speaking? Like sometimes my kids, I'm speaking to them and they're not listening. Hey, sasapsatra, am I speaking? Like, do you not hear me? Right? We would say this in English. Wa whoopsatra. So maybe if some of you have your mute on and you're moving your lips, whoopsatra, are you speaking? Because I can't hear you. Right? Arpsatra, is he speaking? Is he, she, or it speaking right now? Okay.
You talking to me?
You talking to me? What up, Satra? Hey, what up, Satra? Hey, Mabde Sokwa. I'm walking here, right? So I'm going to model this. I'm going to put you guys into the breakout rooms. And I want you guys to A, B, and C. C is listening. A is asking questions. B is answering questions. I'll model this with Albert. Okay. So Albert, I'm going to ask you actually, I should probably reverse these since the questions come before the answers. Whoops. Okay, so Albert, you can make up a place.
I don't know. Wherever you want to fly.
Or I've also given you Disneyland, Yajapa, Disneyland, right? Yajapa, which is school. Lajapa, which is work. Workplace. Okay, so you can, I've given you some cheat stuff here. Okay. So, Albert, what dena wasatra?
Oh, did I say that right?
Would you say it again? Sasasatrapam. Yeah, that's correct. Sasasatrapam. Okay. Albert. Sabina. Ar denasatra. Kakumasata. Okay. Now, why don't you ask me questions with the speaking?
Janti, what do you give the
Let's stick with the simplest verb. Let's stick with exactly what's in the tables, just to make it as basic and simple as possible, Albert. So why don't you just ask me here? Okay. Janti? Yes, I'm speaking. I just want to stick with what's exactly on these tables. I don't, there's a lot of information we're throwing out. So I will model A and B. Okay. So just to be super clear. So I'll be both parts. Sasapsatra and ta sasopsatra. Or I can say hawa sopsatakam. Right? Wowopsatra and ta wowopsatra. Or if I'm asking you sasopsatra. Ar armapsatra. Arpsatra, arpsatra, armapsatra. So I just want to stick basic with what's here on the table. I don't want to introduce, are you able to, are you going to do it tomorrow? Did you do it yesterday? I just want to stick with just the basic stuff that's here. Okay. And if you want, right? So the question words are chet, if you want to make this a little bit fancier. Chet psatra, who's speaking, right? Or dena. Right, so we put dena already here. And there's 3 places I've given you: Disneyland, Yajapa, Lajapa, right? Disneyland is Disneyland. Yajapa is school. Lajapa is workplace. And then in terms of, you know, I am speaking, who is speaking, whatever, it's Sala, boy, Khajabs, girl, Nabzal, friend. Ola, you have a question?
Yes, just a quick question. Can we say psatish?
No.
Sasa psatish? Psata.
Yeah,
Just-
you would never, there's no circumstance where you will ever add ish to the end of this verb.
Okay.
Yamiz, you have a question?
So if it's wadana wupsa tafra
Then wasatara.
wasatara, sorry. Can I say wadana wupsashara? Like, where are you speaking?
Yeah, then wasatara. Yeah, where are you speaking?
Okay, that was it.
Do you guys want to do this in the breakout rooms, or do you guys want to do them as a group with me?
Maybe the breakout room.
As a group with you, I think.
If we do it all together, it might take a lot longer.
I'm going to drop you into the breakout rooms, and I'll
Okay.
drop into each breakout room.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So let me stop the share. Okay. So my takeaway from this is I should reduce the number of verbs, and I should try to make one verb per learning chunk, right? That's one big takeaway for me. The other big takeaway is that I have a feeling that we may have done this breakout room a little prematurely, because I feel a lot of people are struggling with some of the sounds and some of the other practice here. So if people need to drop, you can drop. But I do want to spend just a few minutes going over a couple things, because sachen is a very useful verb to speak. Flying is a useful verb too, because if you fly to homeland, there's only one way to get there, right? So, but sachen is a useful verb. So first, I want everybody to know where this word comes from. Okay, so who knows the word for soul in Circassian?
Sa.
Sa.
Yeah.
Sa. And the verb, the root chen, it typically means that something is inside of something else. Right? So the way I think of the verb sachen, your soul is inside of something. So the noun form of this for word is psasha. Psasha. So psasha is something your soul is inside of. There's a lot of Circassian literature around how words are how we connect what's in our hearts and our souls with the minds of other people. There's lots of poetry about this. This is a very deep Circassian sentiment. Words is what separates us from animals. Animals can communicate, but they cannot express their emotions through their words, right? So the word is psachen. Psasha means word. Psachen means to speak, okay? So psa, for those of you who speak English, PS is not a common sequence of letters. SP is a very common sequence of letters. So some of you I heard were saying spasha, or your brain wants to say that, which I'm not going to repeat again, because I don't want to ingrain a bad idea in your head. And you're struggling with your brain, your whole life has said SP, and now you're trying to rewire your brain to say PS. When I was learning Circassian, that was an issue I went through, okay? So psa, psa, that's the beginning of this. Psa, psa, okay? So the way to remember this is when you see a little cat, what do you say? Pss, 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 pss. We all know this. Even if we spent a lifetime saying the other sequence of letters, we've all in our lifetime said pss, 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 to a little cat. So that's the sound we're making here, pss, 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 right? Psa. The next sound, the next letter, and I'm going to share the screen because I want, this will be reading and pronunciation at the same time. Okay. Let me make this a little bit bigger. Okay, so I'm going to create a new word, a new screen here. Give me a second. New slide. Sasha. Okay, so psashen. Psashen. Okay. So this is a letter p, 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 p. This is a letter s, s. So together it's ps, psa, psa. Okay. Now, anybody who's ever done math knows the Greek letter pi. It's a mathematical term, 3.141592652. Right? That's pi to 10 decimal points. You can look it up. It's a 10 decimal points. So that's the letter for P for pi. Okay. It's the same as the Greek letter. This letter, think of the word scissors. This letter can make the S sound in English. So there's no new information here. This is the letter A, psa, psa. Okay, psa. So the first syllable is psa. Okay. Then we've got this letter. This is one letter. It's one letter, one sound. I'll come back to that in a minute. This is ha, ha. It's kind of like an E, kind of looks like an E, looks like the euro symbol. Think of E, right? And then this one is N, right? So like every time I see haya, I want to say nawa because it's the same letters, right? Nawa. This letter all by itself can be a letter. This is L. L, L, L. If you're from homeland or you've learned how to speak well enough, it's actually but I'm not going to introduce that complexity. So this is an L. When we do have multi-character letters in Circassian, we have many of them. About half of them are multi-character letters. This looks like a B. It's called makiznek in Russian. We don't really have, I don't know what we call it in Circassian. Everybody calls it makiznek. This symbol hardens, it hardens the letter it follows. So as a result, this or L, this L becomes, this is a very important sound to make. There's a handful of sounds that are just not super common. I'm not going to beat you up on those. And I'm never going to beat you up on anything. But this is a sound that is important to make because it's a very, very common sound. Okay. So the way that we make this sound, think of how we make the L sound. L, L. I'm taking my tongue. We all do the same thing. I'm taking my tongue and I'm sticking it. If these are my teeth, I'm sticking my tongue in front of my teeth. And then my lip is also hitting it. L, L, right? That's how we make that sound. The way that we make, now think of a TH sound, which a lot of you are tempted to make. The. So how do we make that sound? We make that sound by, these are my teeth. This is the L sound. To make the sound, I might put my I put my tongue a little bit further back. It's not sticking out like L. It's coming here, th. And what am I doing? I'm forcing air over the top of my tongue and between my teeth. Th. We all can make this sound, th. Okay. The way that we make the th sound, we modify this a little bit further. So if this is my teeth, right? This is L. This is th. This is. So what I'm doing is I'm taking my tongue and I'm placing it against the back of my teeth. My tongue doesn't move. And then what I'm doing is I'm forcing air over the top of my tongue and the side of my mouth. Most native speakers can do both sides of their tongue at the same time. I'm not a native speaker, so I favor one side, it's my right side. I favor the right side of my tongue. So the way I make, and it's, you can't hear a difference. Well, if you can, I don't know who can hear it. I'm sure somebody can hear a difference. But whether you force air on one side of your tongue or on both sides of your tongue, the same sound will come out. Okay. Okay. And this sound, it will last as long as your breath lasts. Once the air is gone, you can't make it anymore. Okay. So the word is psashen, psashen, psashen. Okay. Now, forget about what's on the screen, or I am gonna go to some part of the screen here. Okay, so we're gonna focus on sopsasha. Let me go back here. All right, so everybody still sees my screen, right? Okay, so let's just practice and get comfortable with this. The number, let me just tell you, if there's one piece of advice, if there's only one piece of advice that you guys pick up from me, this is the best piece of advice. Anxiety is your enemy. If you ever feel anxious, you're already giving yourself a disadvantage. The most valuable thing is to feel comfortable. If you're comfortable, it's going to come. Even if you make mistakes, doesn't matter. Listen to a 3-year-old talk. They get the candy and ice cream and lollipops and Mickey Mouse and everything they want, even if they can't pronounce it properly, even if they make grammatical mistakes, because they're super confident. All right. So the number one barrier to learning this language is anxiety. All right. So I want everybody to feel very comfortable here. So if I'm saying I speak, right, put yourselves on mute and repeat after me. Sa sopsasha, sopsasha, sa sopsasha. Okay, sopsasha. Feel comfortable with it. Let it come out. It's okay if you make a mistake. You're on mute. Sa sopsasha, sopsasha, sa sopsasha. I speak. I am speaking. I speak. Sa sopsasha. You speak. Wa wopsasha. Wa wopsasha. Let's say that 3-4 times. Again, you're on mute. Just get comfortable with it. Wa wopsasha. Wa wopsasha. Wa wopsasha. You are speaking. Okay. And then finally, ma psasha. Ma psasha. Ma psasha. Ma psasha. The goal here, all right, it's okay if you forget this at the next class. We're going to go over it again. The goal here is to get very comfortable with this. Let the anxiety go out. Just sa sopsasha. Really comfortable with it. Sa sopsasha. Sa sopsasha. Wa wopsasha. You speak. Wa wopsasha. Mapsasha. He speaks. She speaks. It speaks. Mapsasha. Okay. So I'm going to end the recording, but I'm going to have you guys practice if you guys want to stick around just a few more minutes. Hang on. That's not what I wanted. Where did this go? Stop recording.